Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined in studio with Bryan Leonard and Preston, the sports cheetah. We're going to talk about college basketball futures for the big dance, win the national championship, when and how to hedge. And I know that all of us are sitting with some future tickets here for the big dance. I'm sure, Preston, you've got a laundry list of them as you normally do. And Bryan, you've got some juicy ones too. And Bryan and myself, we went to Reno a couple weeks ago, right before the regular season ended, and we were able to get some good numbers for the national championship up there. So we picked up some. And Preston, you've got some really nice ones. Tell us a couple futures you got live that you'll be working for some profit.
Sure. If anyone's been listening to some of the shows I've done recently, we've been talking about it, which I think is good because a lot of people take flyers during the middle of the season as well as right before the tournament too. And so you obviously want to know where you're at. But a couple I have that are in good shape are Baylor was 150 to 1. I got really early in the season, who now is fortunate enough to play South Carolina where they're a favorite. I have UCLA at 100 to 1, which I bet really early in the year. And fortunately, I have Kentucky at 15 to 1, so I don't even have to bother hedging because they play each other. And I have a few other spots because I started the tournament, I think, with 14 or 15 futures where I'm guaranteed to have a couple teams in the Elite Eight just because they meet now here in the Sweet 16. So shaping up pretty good so far.
Bryan, you've got some nice ones too. When do you start looking to put these to work?
Well, I don't know what Cheetah does, but I got them for the sole purpose of trying to hedge. I was able to get the Wake Forest. I ended up with $120 to win $140,000. I didn't think Wake Forest was going to win at all. All I wanted them to do was just to make the tournament, and they made the tournament in the play-in game. So then I officially, right there, I had a play on Kansas State. And so I was able to bet Kansas State for a pretty good amount of money, knowing that they were only going to last a couple of rounds if they had any success at all, and I could hedge back some money, and that's how it worked. And, it was in the first game, so it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, with these, a lot of people have different philosophies on hedging where, they say, well, you've got the best of the number, let it go, don't hedge. But for me, I'm old school. Anytime I can turn a profit, I'm going to turn a profit. And profits just add up. There's no negative signs to them. And over a course of a lifetime, you keep putting, pluses in there with them, you're going to be okay. Preston, I know, sometimes you're a little, more aggressive with them and you'll let things ride a little bit longer, but you've hit some big scores.
Yeah, I think I've learned a lot hedging and not hedging in certain spots just over the course of the years. And I think ultimately, though, it's very dependent on the person and also the size of the bet. So I have a bunch of flyers. Like I did play the Wake one after I talked to Bryan once for $25, and I didn't hedge it at all because I didn't care. It was just $25. There's other people who message me on Twitter who have $25 on Butler at 60 to 1, and they're not sure what to do on North Carolina. And I tell them, what's the $25 to you? I mean, is that like a 1x bet, or is it for me? It didn't matter to me. I was worth just seeing if they made like a Sweet 16 run, and then at that point I could hedge maybe. So you really have to decide how big your bet is accordingly, and then also where your heart is as far as who you think's actually going to win the game. And I asked a couple of people that have asked me about Butler. At 60 to 1, they probably are okay betting minus 325, minus 350 to win their bet back. Any more, they might be getting dangerous if Butler really did make a run into the championship game. So I asked him, who do you think is going to win the game? Do you still think Butler's going to make a run? Then let it ride. Let's give it another round. If you're pretty confident North Carolina is going to win this game and you want to hedge, then that's what you do. So you ultimately just kind of have to pick, I think, depending on the matchup, and we don't know those things before the tournament starts because there's all the rounds, what do you want to do at that point? And it's good to ask questions and ask people for information and get an opinion. But, with every round, every hedge is kind of like a new bet in its own way where you're deciding, do I bet here or do I hedge?
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to, I had Iowa State at plus 165 to 1. And when they played Nevada, they were a 7-point favorite, 6-point favorite, something in that range. And I took the points with Nevada instead of playing the money line with Nevada. So I was trying to get the best of both worlds in that situation because I kind of liked Nevada in the game, and they didn't play out that way. But yeah, I did all mine for the sole purpose of doing the hedge. If there's something you find and you think it's something, I played San Diego Padres one time when they went to the World Series against the Yankees because I thought the Padres were a really good team, and I never hedged. But, that's a little bit different than what we're doing now. I went into this fully expecting to hedge on every game. And I'm with you. I've got Florida and I've got Wisconsin. So one of them's going to the Final Eight. Then we got Purdue. So I still got a few teams alive.
I had Purdue and Iowa State as futures, and so I had that one. One of them got knocked out, but I still have 4. I've got Wisconsin, future ticket on Wisconsin. I've got North Carolina and West Virginia and Purdue, but I will look for spots to do it. And for me, where I look at is if you have somebody at 50 to 1, that's a potential of 50 units. So I'm going to look at my wager and I'm going to try to initially get back the investment on the ticket and a small profit, and then keep going. Because if you look at it, if the ticket's worth 50 and you're buying off, I'm not looking to make the 50. I'm looking to make a profit where if I'm at the end, if I net 20 by hedging stuff off, that's a net. That's a profit. Let that ticket work for me.
If you've got Wisconsin 80 to 1 and they make it all the way to the championship and they lose and you don't hedge anything, then you're feeling pretty bad.
I will say, last thing before we wrap this video up, one more thing when you're assessing your position, for me and I think for you guys too, I'm very much in the lock of profit up mode typically, and if you're kind of like, we're grinders, this is what we make our living doing, versus someone who's doing it for fun, who just takes a flyer in the tournament. I mean, don't get caught up in needing to hedge if you're really just kind of doing this for fun. And if you have an 80 to 1 on Wisconsin, give it another round then if you're not too worried about the bet. If you really need that extra 100 or 200, and it's part of your income or whatever, then yes, hedge. But you kind of have to make that assessment too, I think.
All right, good stuff, guys. Hey, and don't forget, if you want to save $10 this week at WagerTalk, well, it's the Sweet 16. Use coupon code SWEET and the number 16, and you will get $10 off any purchase at WagerTalk. Check it out at WagerTalk.com. We'll be back with more.